Okay, this is the last part of the presentation, summative assessment. Summative assessments are given periodically to determine at a particular point in time what students know and what they don't know. So summative assessment evaluation is designed to provide information, make judgments about students' achievements at the end of a sequence instruction. Example, final drafts, attempts, tests, exam, assignments, projects, performances. So it means to determine the student's mastery and understanding of information, skills, concepts, or process. Let me just rewind that back and just say summative assessments are given periodically to determine at a particular point in time what students know and what they don't know. So a summative assessment could be a midterm. A summative assessment could be a final exam. Okay, summative assessments strategies are unit tests, performance task, product, exhibit, demonstration, portfolio review. So assessment instruction process, pre-assessment, finding out, formative assessment, checking in, feedback, student involvement, summative assessment, making sure. Remember, all teachers assess their students, continuously assess their teachers. How would you want to be assessed as a teacher? Okay, important qualities of good assessment. I think this might come up on the exam, so let's try to remember this. Remember RSVP. RSVP, reliability, standardization, validity, practicality. So that's RSVP, reliability, standardization, validity, practicality. So reliability, the results of our assessment should be consistent no matter when we give it. Standardization, the assessment should have a similar format, content, procedure for all students. So just remember standardized tests. That's what I think of. A standard test for everyone. Like when there's a midterm, everyone gets the same midterm. Final, same final. Validity, the assessment should measure what is intended to measure. Practicality, the assessment and its procedure should be fairly simple to use and take only a small amount of time to administer the score. For example, RSVP, think of RSVP like the final exam. So the final exam is going to be reliable. The results of our assessment should be consistent. Yeah, it should be consistent, basically meaning for everyone. The standard of assessment standardization should be the same test examination, or everyone's going to get the same final exam. Maybe questions are up and down, but it's going to be the same exam. They're valid, so they're going to, obviously the final exam on classroom assessment is going to be on classroom assessment. It won't be on anything else. Like for example, we didn't study rubrics, so rubrics is not going to be in the exam. Practicality, for example, multiple choice, true, false, whatever. The assessment and its procedure should be fairly simple to use. That's how I understand it. Reliability. There may be a slight variation from time to time. Students change from day to day. The physical environment may change. Sometimes teachers are more clear in their instruction than others. There is always subjectivity in scoring, more likely when responses are scored on the basis of vague, imprecise criteria. Enhancing reliability. So this is how we enhance reliability. Include several tasks in each instrument and look for consistency in student performance. Define each task clearly so students know exactly what they are being asked to do. Identify specific concrete criteria for evaluation. Try not to let expectations for students' performance influence judgments. Avoid assessing students when they are obviously tired, ill, etc. Administer assessment in similar ways and under similar conditions for all students. So just be fair in a way, you know. Validity, content validity. It assures that we are testing truly represents what we have taught. The instructional objectives. High content validity is essential in summative evaluations. Teachers can use a table of specifications to enhance content validity. So, table of specifications. What is the table of specifications? The table of specifications describes the topics to be covered by a test and the number of items of points which will be associated with each topic. So like for example, the final exam is going to have 10 multiple choice or 20 multiple choice worth 20 marks, essay worth 5 marks, true or false worth 10 marks. You know, it gives you a grade or a measurement on each topic. So this is what a table of specification looks like. Table of specifications, basic steps. List courses of goals, list course goals, list objectives of goals for goals, list instructional content corresponding to goals, attach values to content indicating how prevalent certain types of questions should be on the test, create a grid. Okay, summative assessments. Again, we're still doing summative assessments. Just look through these: traditional assessments, classwork, homework, test, quizzes, participation. Student products include journals, written explanations, individual team projects, investigations, portfolios. Teacher generated, open-ended questions, observations and checklists, interviews and all responses, performance assessments, student self-assessments. I'm not going to bother to explain all this, but quite self-explanatory, so I should know this. Tests and examinations. When to give tests: at the beginning of a class period, under good physical conditions, under as similar conditions to learning as possible, without interruptions, under control of cheating. So tests and examinations. Some points to consider: use assessments humanely as learning as diagnostic devices. Never use tests as a punishment. Minimize the use of completion and matching questions. Tests for all levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So just doing different types of essays and multiple choice and matching and true and false. Remember that tests are only a sample of what has been learned and probably not a very good one. Therefore, they should not be used as the only means of evaluation. Tests and examinations. Some points to consider: design the assessment to be easily scored. Clearly indicate point values for each question. Leave plenty of space for answers. Encourage honesty. Remove temptations to copying by spreading students out. Make sure that one test version discussing the problems associated with cheating and punishing cheating when it occurs. So writing suggestions: true or false? True or false questions. Number 1, statements should be as clear, as concise as possible. Avoid writing long, complicated items. Number 2, statements should be written so that they are either clearly correct or clearly incorrect. 3, do not use words as never, always, or none, which give students a clue that the question may be false. Words are often, probably, and sometimes are associated with true statements and should be avoided. 4, do not take statements directly from textbooks, because these types of statements often have different meanings and they are taken out of context. So these are the advantages and limitations of true and false questions. The advantages are easy to write, easy to grade, can broadly sample knowledge, great for pre-testing. So the limitations: they are poor validity, have low reliability, guessing can produce correct answers, Good students often do poorly because they remember the subtleties and expectation. I think that's subtitles. Okay, must be based on statements absolutely true or false. So don't be vague. So writing suggestions, modify true or false questions. Sections to be modified should be clearly identified in italics. Advantages. Guessing is reduced, can require high level of thinking. Limitations, difficult to construct, difficult to avoid ambiguity. Now, writing suggestions for multiple choice questions. Items should have at least 3 and possibly 4 good distractors or options that have relevance to the basic stem of the questions. The options listed should be approximately the same length. The options should have the same writing style. The basic question and the option should be written in the same tense. 5. Avoid using distractors such as all of the above and none of the above unless the distractor is the correct answer. 6. Avoid using words such as never, always, and all in the distractors because they indicate that the option is not an acceptable response. The distractors should be randomly listed so that there is no obvious pattern of the position of the correct responses. Multiple choice questions. Advantages. Guessing is reduced from true and false, higher validity as you increase choices. The limitations, not easy to construct, difficult to find enough distractors. So writing suggestions. Matching questions. Number 1. Select items that include statements, words, or phrases that cover the same general topic or category. The arrangement of a long list should have some logical order, alphabetically or otherwise. 3. The length statement in particular column should be somewhat consistent. Longer statements should be listed in the left column and shorter on the right. 4. The number of answer choices should be greater than the number of statements which they should be matched. 5. To set the responses that should be kept short, 6 to 12. Matching questions. Advantages. Easy to construct, take up small spaces, adds variety to test. Students like them. Limitations. Don't measure understanding beyond basic recalling of information. So some suggestions for writing test questions and prompts. I'm not going to read this. So as it's about completion of questions, advantages, disadvantages. So this is suggestions for writing test questions. So writing suggestions. Again, complete the questions. Number 1, statements should be as clear, as concise as possible. Avoid writing long, complicated items. 2, statements should be written so they are either clearly correct and clearly incorrect. 3, multiple answers are required. Multiple blanks should be provided. Completion questions, advantages and disadvantages. Easy to grade and construct. Students don't need much time. Difficult. Limitations are difficult to write. Ambiguous items. Rarely test upper level of Bloom's taxonomy. Essay questions. Use the open-ended question to measure the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy, and the outcomes cannot be easily measured through objective types items. So use the open-ended questions to measure the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy. Outcomes that cannot be easily measured through the objective type items. Use the restricted, number 2, use the restricted type when possible, since they are easy to score and they have channel student responses. 3, write questions so that students have sufficient time to complete the test. 4. While constructing our item, determine the criteria to be used to grade